Alrighty, folks, y'all are just gonna have to ignore the lawnmowers if they come back. I've been trying to shoot around them, but every time I start, they come right back. So, RAM. This idea started because for the slow end PC project, I was looking at would it be viable to upgrade the RAM? We've got 16 gigs at the moment, which I believe on Windows 10, which is what we're running, is going to be perfectly fine. On Windows 11, I usually tell folks to double that, go for 13. I'm sorry, go for 32. But for Windows 10, 16 really is enough. The question, though, came about when I was looking at the actual RAM, and it was no longer your choice of green or black or blue. You could have a regular RAM stick, which would more or less look like this. This is a stick of DDR3. Or you could get something like one of these guys with this heat shield built into it. And it got me wondering because for computers, CPU, cooling, GPU, cooling, power supply, cooling, case, cooling, even drives nowadays are needing cooling. But does RAM really need cooling? I would doubt it because you can still get, raw, natural, free range RAM that doesn't have any cooling on it. But then again, the prevalence for RAM that does have this cooling is getting higher and higher and higher. So from there, the question became, well, are there any performance boosts coming from it? And to that extent, I don't really know. And it's actually kind of difficult to test because I wasn't able to find any variety of RAM that had the exact same timings and cast latencies and manufacturing specs as a stick of RAM that didn't. And then it struck me that I have a couple of these sitting in my computer box, and this is a stick of DDR3, which sadly I think the days of DDR3 are behind us. It certainly is for me. Even the slow end PCs running DDR4, so with these guys, they're probably going to be relegated to either keychains. They've already got the hole drilled for them. Or more probably bookmarks, and that's just kind of how they're going to spend the rest of their life. But what they could do from here is, if I could borrow this heatsink, then I'd be able to attach it to the RAM that I currently have, and that would probably give us the best before and after of does it actually offer any performance difference. So that's why we're running 3D Mark in the background. I'm going to do this actually scientifically. Definitely a step away from what we usually do on this channel, but I am trying, you guys. So we're running 3D Mark. I'm going to be running 3 different tests, and then we're going to take the computer out, rebuild it, and then run those 3 tests again. And all we're testing is, does putting pieces of metal on your RAM change the score? And if it does, is it changed for the better? Or does this stuff make it worse? It could be either way on that. So without further ado, let's get into it. These heat shields aren't going to be removing themselves, so what I've got here is a state-of-the-art piece of computer equipment. It's a ballpoint pen, and we're just going to rip it off because I don't see any better way to go about it. So let's get to work over here. Come on. And I'm trying to be as gentle as possible. Like I said, I'm not really worried too much about the RAM. It's kind of had its time. I am worried about the heatsink though, because it is very, very thin metal, which is kind of what makes me think that it's just not going to really do much. Yeah, there we go. All right, it's starting to come off a little bit. And it's bending. I don't want it to bend, but there just isn't. I'm trying not to damage this adhesive layer either, because that's what I want to use to attach to the new RAM. There we go. All right. Ooh, it ripped that last one. Dang. Well, we'll just try to position it into a position where that's not going to matter. Darn it. Well, oh well. So yeah, we were kind of off to a rough start there. It kind of bent a little bit. I think we can bend it back. That's not That's not the biggest issue. Yeah, and you can see, guys, like this is less than a soda can's worth of. I don't even know if this is aluminum or not. And it's just got this little sticker on it, which I don't think is really going to. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to do anything or not. So that's what the experiment is for. Luckily, I only need to take 2 of these guys apart because even though I have 4 RAM sticks, they've only got these little packages on one side. So we only need to do it on one side, which is fantastic because I've only got 2 of these. Let's see. How did we start that the last time? We kind of went in from a corner there. All right, there we go. I'm just gonna try. There we go. I think this is the way to do it. If you ever find yourself in a position where you're using a pen to pry off the heat sinks to RAM, you want to push down on the pen, kind of get it fully under there, and then go to the other side and just sort of lift it away. That seems to be working really good. Just got to make sure it doesn't come off there. You know, just day-to-day stuff. I'm sure somebody's entire job is just pulling the heat sinks off of RAM. Ah, there we go. Oh, that came off beautiful. Dang, I wish I had done that the first time. Oh. All right, so here we go. The first score on this one, overall 3718 with a GPU and CPU of 3841 and 3148. Fantastic. We'll go ahead and run that again. And like I said, folks, we're just going to do this A, B, and C, rebuild it, and then do it again. So now that we've got these heat sinks off, now the boring part begins. We're just going to have to just sort of watch Cinebench do its thing on there. I'm not going to subject you to that. We're going to cut the feed when it gets done. I'll show you all 3 of the final numbers, and then we'll start the transformation. All right, and also if anybody is watching, I actually did see a couple of views on one of the other videos. I was surprised about that. Let me know what you think of this camera quality. I was having a whole bunch of issues with my other phone. This is a phone that I had in a drawer because the GPS module doesn't work on it. Fantastic, but the camera works just fine. I hope the microphone's picking everything up. So if this one looks better, we'll just use this one. Other than that, folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. So the information came in. It looks like we had a bit of a decline and then kind of a return there to the end. We're just going to go over the overall scores here. We'll get more into it here in a second. But the first one run was a 3718 overall, then it dropped down to 3700, and then it kind of kicked back up to 3708 on there. It looks like the biggest reason for the fall was actually the GPU. It scored in lower every single run on there, and I think that's probably due to the cooling solution on it. If you go back to the build videos, I was not I was not the most impressed with how they put that GPU together. So I'll go ahead and remove that. There we go. I'll try not to hit the tripod with that. There we go. Alrighty then. So yeah, these are the RAM sticks here. They're going to be kind of what's running the show, and I'm going to have to get creative here. I'm trying not to cover the camera, but getting these bottom pins, I guess they're latches. That would probably be the better word for it. There we go. Out of the way without blocking the camera is going to be a trick, and I think I'm failing it. Sorry about that, folks. But we'll go ahead and try to get all these guys down first. That seems to be a little bit easier. Yeah, get out of there. Alrighty then. Go ahead and pull these guys out. And this RAM is not in a hurry to do much of anything. We're looking at hardly any more than like 2400 on that. Just generic HP branded, whatever they could get in bulk, and save a buck doing it is kind of what they went for. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be peeling these stickers off. Generally, folks say, no, don't do that. You're gonna hurt the RAM. I don't know what you want to call these things. The little caches on them. Um, I've pulled off a couple of these stickers just for aesthetic reasons, and I've never had a problem. Of course, view that under your own discretion. Um, but I feel like if the little modules were so poorly soldered that they could be ripped off a sticker, then chances are probably pretty high that they weren't soldered correctly to begin with. That's my line of thinking with it. I've been wrong before, but I want to make sure that it is as good of a connection as we can hope for on there. And then for the astute of y'all that were seeing this video, you might have noticed that tube of thermal paste in the background. If we see any performance at all from this, I'll go ahead and thermal paste these guys, rip that little double-sided tape thing that they were using on the original RAM off, and then we'll give it a try. But where we are right now is we are just going to go ahead and try to line that up as best as we can. And there we go. All right, so that is one module upgraded. And I'm only putting it on the one side of the RAM because the other side of the RAM is completely blank. There's nothing there's nothing there for it to do. So it shouldn't matter. But we'll go ahead and lock and load with this guy. He seems to be ready and good to go on that. RAM's super easy to put into to computers. You just kind of line it up. Oh. Running into a bit of an issue getting this connected. I think I might have put this one on a little bit too low. Doesn't look like it. Nope, it just didn't want to go in. It was stiff. Like I was saying, with RAM, you just kind of chunk it in there. Make sure you're not forcing it, but it does take a little bit effort. We'll go ahead and put this one a little bit higher. And sorry for the camera angles, folks. We are back in the closet on this one, and it is, I mean, it is what it is. There's there we go. I'm trying not to push the metal off when I'm pushing it down in there, but it is certainly a trick. All right, we'll go ahead and get that last one. In there. Yeah, that motherboard is tough to push them into. I'm used to DDR5 where this center pin is so close to the middle that I always put it in wrong the first time. I got to flip around. Doing a DDR4 board is a nice change of pace. We'll go ahead and get this guy lined up on there. Get him attached. All right, and then that should be good. So there we go. So all of the RAM has a little heat sink built onto it. Doesn't look great, but hey, you know what? We're about clearly we're not about aesthetics here. This is function over form at its absolute finest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap the glass panel back on. Generally for testing, I try to leave everything as open as possible because I'm probably going to be in there moving things around. But realistically for this testing, the first run was done with the glass panel on. If I hold on to this in the future, the next handful of runs will be done with the glass panel on. So there's no reason why we shouldn't put the glass panel back on. Go with that. All right, but yeah, place your bets now. Don't go to the end of the video. Go ahead and leave in the comments what y'all think is going to happen with this one. Is it A, not going to post? Very strong possibility on that one. B, we're not going to have all of the RAM, but it does post, so it does post, but we lost some RAM, and if that's the case, I'll just pull it out and see it reseed it. That usually does it. C, it posts, it runs fine, but there's absolutely no improvement. Or D, the industry is right on something. The post was successful, performance improved over all 3 different runs. You have to get the most expensive, flashiest looking RAM possible, and if it has RGB, then it's going to add another 10 FPS. And yeah, those are your options. So go ahead and tell me what you think is going to happen right now. We'll cut the video here. I'll get this guy reset, move the monitor back in place, and then we will go ahead and give it another try. All right, folks, stay tuned. Alrighty, folks, so the moment of truth. Well, we've got all the fans spinning. Keyboard and mouse are coming online. Display flickered. Hey! I don't know if that's on angle or not. Yeah, so this post error, this is still that cable detection stuff on there. I don't know what it wants. I really don't. But it looks like everything is good to go on there. Got our scores from the last run right over here. Fantastic. Alrighty then. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video feed again because I don't have to change the password one more time. We'll go ahead and get in here and then yeah, start running the tests. Stand by one moment. All right, so we're back after that password and login. Let's see what we're running here. 15.9 gigabytes. We didn't lose a 0.1. That's just how it always has been. But yeah, so all 4 of them are found. All of the capacity is found, and we are rocking at a solid 2133 megahertz. Oh, those DDR4 speeds are intense on that. All right, so we should be good to go with that. Let's go ahead and fire up 3D Mark. One other thing to note when I was putting that computer back together, all of the components were nice and cool. There's not going to be any heat trapped into it. It's been a good couple minutes, so anything that did heat up should be fully cooled. I do actually have a thermometer in the room with me. It hasn't changed temperature throughout this whole thing. So if somebody's looking at my science and going, well, you've taken into account the temperatures of the internal of the computer, but what about the room? They're the same. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. I was trying to place it here, but I couldn't find a way to make sure everything was in place, so I just didn't get to it. But we'll go ahead and run 3 more of these tests. We'll get A, B, and C runs right over here, and then we'll see if that did anything or if it hurt something. We're about to find out. I'm gonna find this out as soon as y'all will. Well, I'll find out first, of course, but in nature of this recording, we'll find out at the same time. So yeah, we'll be right back after these benchmarks run. Well, interesting results. It's not much. Pretty much for the first 3 rounds, with just doing the random regular RAM stuff, we got 3718, 3700, and 3708. When we redid it with the different RAM, it started off as 3716, so a bit of a hit from there, but I would say honestly 2 points in 3D Mark, that's probably margin of error. That's not too big an issue. For the next one, 3719. That one I'm gonna say is definitive improvement over the first one. And then of course the last one, 3713. So again, a slight improvement. We're not doing much. But I mean, there's a lot of fans already on that RAM coming from the slow end PC. So maybe just that little bit of extra metal was enough to kind of bring it over. The regular stuff was going back to just it being regular. GPU and CPU scores for the first run were 3841 and 3148. For the second one, they were 3831 and 3142. And then for the last one, they were 3829 and 3147. Going back to the one with the metal heat shield added to the RAM, we got a 3838 followed by a 3153. So a little bit of a hit in the GPU as per the first test, but improvement on the CPU. On the second test, 3838 for the GPU, so remarkably consistent from there. And 3165 for the CPU. So again, what we're seeing is consistent GPU routes on there, and still an increase in CPU performance over the first 2 runs, which realistically I think for RAM is probably where we're going to be seeing the most difference. It shouldn't affect the GPU much at all. And then for the last run, we took a bit of a dive on that one. 3835 on the GPU, 3148 on the CPU. Still better. Still better than what was going on in the last run there. The GPU never went back to that 3841. I don't know why, but it always did better than the other 2 runs. The CPU on there was consistently faster, all up until the last one where it met the first one on there. So does metal heat sinks on RAM, is it worth it? Does it do anything? I'm not going to say it doesn't do anything. If you see the same kit of RAM, same timing, same cast latency, same speed, one with the metal on there, one without, yeah, go for the one with the metal. But if they're charging you an extra $10 for it, I wouldn't say it's worth it. That's just, at least not for DDR4. Yeah, so that's the conclusion on that. It does offer a minor performance. We are going to hold off on thermal pasting them and putting it directly on, simply because I had to use the metal to push it into the slot. And that's just not going to be possible when it's held in place by thermal paste and electrical tape. I will try to see if I can create something that can just like do that and just push on the actual stick and avoid the metal part. But that's going to take some time for me to figure that out. So for the moment, this is where we're going to leave it. It is a slight improvement, so I'm going to leave it on there. We're going to leave it on the computer. We're going to see if that does anything. But from there, we're going to call it here. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one. All right, so folks, RAM. That's all the introduction you're going to get. This idea came to me because for the slow end, and a lawnmower started.